You know, on Patriotic Pulpit, we've talked frequently about communism. We've talked about communist revolution and communist movements in the past. And we are seeing that right here in America. And ground zero right now appears to be in Minneapolis. What I'm going to say is that what's happening in Minneapolis after the shooting involving the ICE agent and the woman who tried to run him over, this is basically nothing more or nothing less than a communist revolution, and the communists have gotten the masses of people, particularly in Minnesota and other places such as California, they've got them all riled up against America. And so that's exactly what's happening. And they're threatening at one point even, they're threatening, at least Tim Walz is, threatening even to use the National Guard against ICE, that is a duly elected duly appointed law enforcement agency from the federal government. But let's just back up for a moment and just note some things regarding the incident in Minneapolis. So I point out, number one, that the left wants a revolution against America. That's what they want. That's what they're pushing for. That's what they've been pushing for many, many years. Anyone who reads the material, reads the literature, reads their stuff, knows that that's what they actually want, is a revolution. And they simply wait for a spark, wait for something to happen that might catapult that into action. And that's exactly what they're doing. That's what they tried to do with George Floyd. And basically, they just burned down many cities in America. And not coincidentally, this is exactly the same place where George Floyd riots began as well. But I like the way Greg Gutfeld, I think he's such a great thinker. I know he's a comedian and he has a lot of things to say about just a wide variety of subjects, but he really gets down to incisive logic on it. And he pointed out on the 5 yesterday, it was, he said, we need to just ask, how did we get here? How did America get here? And I thought, boy, I'm so glad someone said it. How did we get here? He said the context is all important, and that is exactly right. First of all, let's just note the facts. Number one, the law states that a person's coming into this country illegally, they are to be arrested and incarcerated, and they are to be detained. They are not to come in here illegally. They are to come in only legally. But the fact is that Joe Biden has let in up to 10 to 12 million different illegals, knowingly thumbing his nose at the law. The Democrats, all in favor of it, violating the law. They are lawless. That's all they are. They don't care about the law. So that's number one, the allowance of illegal immigration in violation of the law. Number two, the American people don't like it. The American people in the streets of America, the people out here paying the taxes so that Governor Walz can siphon off billions of dollars or help siphon it off for the Somalis up in Minnesota. The people out here working, doing the working, living, dying, and paying, we don't like that because we want peaceable communities. We simply ask, if we're going to carry the load here and carry the yoke of the tax burden that we have, which is almost 50% of our salary, so we work 2 and 3 jobs to do it, all we want is a peaceable community with a cohesive, bonding culture surrounding us. That's all we want. And that is, we want support of the law. So America elected Donald Trump because of primarily the illegal immigration. Consequently, the fact number three is he has, at the request and at the voting mandate of the American people, sent federal agents, ICE agents, to get out the bad guys who come in illegally, because not only are they allowed in here by the Democratic leadership previous to Trump, but the different states such as California, Minnesota, New York, Illinois, they invited them there. They made them sanctuary cities. And so they want absolutely and have absolutely thumbed their nose at American law. So Donald Trump sends in the ICE agents. Number 4, these agents now simply upholding the law that they have themselves passed and sworn to live under, have vilified the agents continually and ramping up all the threats and the violence against ICE agents. All Democrats are in favor of this. I don't understand how anyone can be a law-abiding citizen at this point and vote Democrat. Number 5, in Minneapolis now, a woman dies. Apparently, looks like on the video she's trying to run over an ICE agent. And yet, the shocking thing is that all Democratic leaders, all of them, automatically side against ICE in favor of the woman who's weaponizing her car to kill the ICE agent. They don't support the law to begin with. That's why I say the Democrats are lawless, and that is basically what communism is. Mayor Mamdani called it a murder. AOC called it a murder. She's so bold getting out there only because she has a lawless rabble behind her. But I want you to notice the hypocrisy of the left. So hypocritical here. When Biden flooded our nation with illegals, and the states wanted to stop it to protect our states, the left cried, what? Well, that's a federal matter. In Texas, for example, where I live, Texas tried to stop the illegal crossing of millions of people coming in and destroying our state. And stop it. Federal agents came in, they cut the wire that Governor Abbott had put up on the border, and they not only just endorsed it, but they absolutely participated in the illegal invasion in the state of Texas. But when we tried to stop it, the federal government says, well, all the liberals say, well, it's a federal matter. You don't have a right at the state level to do anything about it. All right? So we elected Donald Trump, who's now sending in federal agents and taking care of the federal matter. And what are they saying in Minneapolis? Well, we want to prosecute the ICE agent at a state level. At a state level. You know, the Democrats, complete with hypocrisy all along the line. Governor Walz even threatened to utilize the National Guard of the state of Minnesota against ICE. You know, here we have, and I thought it was interesting. I heard Jonathan Turley say, you know what, he might look back to Jefferson Davis. That's what it smacks of, and that is a rebellion against the law of the United States. That's what's going on. And unfortunately, so many mobs have been brainwashed, just like the woman who was shot, brainwashed against America. So what are the mobs doing? Well, the mobs are simply trying to hold hostage America and the judicial system to ensure that they get their way. So all of this is threat of violence, threat of mob action, because they want revolution. That's what they want. And they're threatening, that's why the mobs are out there on the streets now, they're threatening revolution. This is what communism has wanted for many, many years. Unfortunately, so many people are stupid pawns to fall into the trap. Let's just talk about a few of those stupid pawns for a moment. How about Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis? His comments, I watched his comments live. To me, I thought, okay, number one, he has no class. He's getting up there cursing and using foul language, doesn't even act like an elected official at all. And he says he wants ICE to get out of Minneapolis. Well, Minneapolis is harboring illegals against federal law. They have no intention. He says we can do it on our own. They have no intention of doing it. No intention of following the law. They completely blame ICE. He said, I watched the video. You know what? He didn't see, I guess, what everybody else saw. He even said that the woman was driving away, and made it sound like she was just out for a drive, and they shot her as she was driving away. No, that's not what happened. I don't know. How can a man like Jacob Frey be elected mayor of Minneapolis? Walz called it a Gestapo. That is ICE, a Gestapo, wearing masks, all to conjure up. Why? Why would he say that? Because he's conjuring up rebellion against the law of the United States and the law enforcers of the United States. Let's talk about Tim Walz for a moment. He's so quick to condemn. He said, we don't have any need of help. No further need of help do we need in Minnesota to enforce the law. We have a National Guard. Well, He's not going to implement it unless he's going to implement it against the United States. He says the federal government is not coordinating with us. No, the opposite is truth. Democrats are just opposite everywhere you turn. They don't want to cooperate. That's why they created sanctuary cities, people. I thought, what do you mean the federal government's not cooperating with us? The entire thing is lawless, and it's not a coincidence that we have the same place where George Floyd riots began in 2020. He says, furthermore, this is caused by federal agents. You know why it's caused by federal agents? Because Democrat leaders have amped up animosity against the federal government for enforcing the law. They have amped up all the minions, all the street thugs. Some of them are brave enough to get out there and lead them, but they just amp them up with these kind of comments in order to cause riot and chaos. As a matter of fact, in George Floyd riots, Walsh did nothing about it. He allowed private property to be completely destroyed. What a joke indeed is he as a leader of the state. He says Trump wants to create fear. Well, I think there should be some fear in the illegal alien population. He said someone died for no reason whatsoever. Did he not watch the tape? Apparently not. Apparently, these Democrats don't care if they're even partially in line with the truth. They just say these things in order to amp up. Vladimir Lenin didn't do any better job than these people are doing. Then you have Ilhan Omar. Oh boy, what a joke is she. She's, of course, from the House of Representatives in Minnesota. She wants to create such an outrage across America and to hold law and order hostage so that this ICE agent will be prosecuted. They want to secure the prosecution of the ICE agent. So she said this. Now, this is designed for all the street minions, all the ditto heads that are out there that can't think for themselves. And she says, well, I'm following news of a reported shooting of a legal observer by ICE agents in South Minneapolis. I'll continue to monitor the situation closely and will update as soon as I receive information. ICE must stop terrorizing our communities and leave our city. There you have it again. They don't intend to uphold the law. They intend to violate the law with illegal aliens, and they don't care about destroying the culture of America. She doesn't care about that at all. And then, not only that, but now she wants ICE to get out of Minneapolis again, which they have a legal right to be there. It's amazing to me that an elected representative, supposedly representing the law, would be able to say such things and stay in office. Now she makes this comment. I thought, well, this was on X. ICE's actions today were unconscionable and reprehensible. I'm beyond outraged that the reckless, callous actions led to the killing of a legal observer in Minneapolis. My heart breaks for the victim's family, who will have to forever live with the pain caused by the Trump administration's reckless and deadly actions. This administration has shown yet again that it does not care about the safety of Minnesotans. Instead of protecting our communities, they are unleashing violence, terrorizing neighborhoods, and now killing a civilian. For weeks, ICE's so-called Operation Metro Surge has spread fear, chaos, and violence across our state. This is not law enforcement. It is state violence. It is simply indefensible, and ICE must be held accountable. That must include a full, comprehensive investigation and legal action against the agency. End of quote. What does she want? She wants, basically, bottom line, she wants to get rid of law enforcement. Get rid of law enforcement. They want them out of Minnesota, they want them out of Minneapolis, and they want to review whether ICE can exist at all. They don't want immigration enforcement. Left has made it perfectly clear they want this country to be absolutely overrun with third world countries so that they might continue to bilk the American taxpayer and have us work all the time so we can pay their bills. Notice this, Bob Jacobson, who is the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. I thought this was so interesting. He came on a news conference also later yesterday, and he said, we're going to get answers after investigating. Bob, why investigate? You have the governor of the state representative, you have the mayor of Minneapolis, and you have other people in representatives and elected officials all condemning the ICE agent and calling him a murderer before the facts are known. Well, why would you have an investigation? Why investigate? Everybody's already condemned him. There's no investigation to be done, according to you. No, the fact is that the left is solidly against the law. And I want to make one more point here. Harold Ford on the 5 doesn't like Trump blaming the left. I tell you, I am so sorry for Harold Ford here. He's such an even-handed man and just a calm thinker, but boy, he is so off kilter. His mind has been tainted by leftist policies. Fox News interviewed Democratic strategist and lawyer Julian Epstein. I wish everybody would listen to this. It was on middle of the day. Julian Epstein of California, he's a Democratic lawyer, and he points out that it is on the left where almost all of the violence originates. It is the left in America that is against the law that we have in the United States. That's why Trump blames the left also, because those are the facts. That's what's happening in America. That's why I call it simply a communist revolution. Someone may say, well, is George Soros funding it? I don't know whether George Soros is or not, but I do know it's organized. I do know that at this point they don't need some kind of a complete organization. They don't need some specific organization for it. All they have to do now is blow the dog whistles, and out come the people, the street minions, and the thugs who are going to carry out the business for them. It reminds me of the story of the Bolshevik Revolution, and that's exactly where I believe the left wants to go. They want to make this another Bolshevik revolution. George Floyd almost did it, and they're trying to do it with this one as well.